We're back again. The Hodling Room. We're delving into the Bitcoin Standard Book. We're going to be jumping straight in. We are on the digital money chapter. We're on the supply, value, and transactions.
Oh, this is a good bit. Lots of charts coming up, so it'll be good.
Go for it, Mike.
Right. It has always been theoretically possible to produce an asset with a predictable, constant, or low rate of supply growth to allow it to maintain its monetary role. But reality, as always, had proven far trickier than theory. Governments would never allow private parties to issue their own private currencies and transgress on the main way in which government funds itself and grows. So government would always want to monopolize money production and face too strong a temptation to engage in the increase of the money supply, as we all know. Mm-hmm. But with the invention of Bitcoin, the world had finally arrived at a synthetic form of money that had an ironclad guarantee governing its low rate of supply growth. Bitcoin takes the macroeconomics, politicians, presidents, revolutionary leaders, military dictators, and TV pundits out of monetary policy altogether. Money supply growth is determined by a program's function adopted by all members of the network. There may have been a time at the start of this currency when this inflation schedule could have been conceivably changed, but that time has well passed. For all practical intents and purposes, Bitcoin's inflation schedule, like its record of transactions, is immutable. While for the first few years of Bitcoin's existence, the supply growth was very high, and the guarantee that the supply schedule would not be altered was entirely credible. Interesting. As time went by, the supply growth rate dropped, and the credibility of the network in maintaining the supply schedule has increased and continues to rise with each passing day in which no serious changes are made to the network. Why do you think that is? Why is it much less likely now than it was at the start?
Because the hash rate is so high, like the chance of a 51% attack is almost impossible now. Like, what's that? Is it called the Lindy effect, where each day that something survives, it gets stronger or something like that?
It's more likely to survive the next day.
In the first year or two, there was only like a few people that were. I mean, it was easily changed because it was. I mean, Satoshi was still tinkering with it for the first. I don't even know, couple of years.
I don't know if it would be the hash rate. Like, does the hash rate impact it? I guess it correlates, but I don't know if that, as in, it would be the individual users, nodes.
Yeah, there was not many.
I guess miners were nodes and users. They were all you were all one thing, weren't you, when you first started? I believe, like, if you had a miner was a node. So in those early years, you could just do it on your computer, sort of thing, and it was all one thing. So I guess that's probably why it would have been way easier to. It was more centralized, as in like 2010, when 180 billion got mined or whatever, or given to someone, they could just go back a few hours and that was it. Hard fork, gone, removed, fixed, updated, carry on, sort of thing. Whereas that would be impossible now.
Yeah.
People throw out like the 90% thing, don't they? But I don't think it has to be 90% consensus. I think it's a bit confusing, that bit. I still don't really understand that fully. Anyway, so Bitcoin blocks are added to the shared ledger roughly every 10 minutes. At the birth of the network, the block reward was programmed to be 50 Bitcoins per block. Every 4 years, roughly, or after 210,000 blocks had been issued, the block reward drops by half. The first halving happened on November 28th, 2012, after which the issuance of new Bitcoins dropped to 25 per block. That's quite interesting. It's November, whereas now the halving was March, wasn't it? 24. Really? So it's not every 4 years, slightly less than 4 years. And I guess it depends on, if you think about it logically as well, with the hash rate increasing so much, that means there's been competition, meaning that it's probably been on average slightly less than 10 minutes, if you know what I mean, because it takes 2 weeks before the difficulty adjustment changes. So if you've increased the hash rate significantly after 1 week, then you're going to get a fast 2 weeks than 10 minutes. And then obviously it will adjust, go more, but then because because there's been such demand for it, I guess it is slightly less. Anyway, after which the issuance of new Bitcoins dropped to 25 per block. On July 9th, so see, that's gone already from November to July. July 9th, 2016, it dropped again to 12.5 coins per block and will drop to 6.25 in 2020. And it's currently 3.125. According to this schedule, the supply will continue to increase at a decreasing rate. Asymptotically.
That was a word that I didn't know before I got into Bitcoin, but it basically means something that halves over time, to the point where, like, the idea of something being asymptotic is that when you half and you half and you half, you will never fully get to zero, because it will just keep halving and halving. That number will get bigger and bigger. It'll be like, 0.5, 0.25, 0.0, and you'll just keep adding noughts. It just goes and goes. You'll never fully get to zero.
Interesting.
But Bitcoin has got something. It's basically got they've cut the tail off the end. So when it hits 21 million exactly, then that'll be the end. Like, so it's asymptotic, which should go on infinitely, but Bitcoin's got this hard cap of 21 million added in the year 2140 approximately.
I'd say that's one of the biggest questions I've seen on my channel is fee reward, like as in how are the fees ever going to pay for Bitcoin mining? And because people often talk about 2140 as the year the last Bitcoin will be mined, but it's going to be way sooner than that when fees need to outpace, or the price of Bitcoin has to go up like so quick, that's so much that the mining reward will be worth it, if you know what I mean. Because I think it's really in the next sort of 10, 15 years that either fees need to dramatically improve. Because if you think about it, what we're now 3.1, so in 28 that means it's going to be 1.6 ish, 1.5. Then in 32 it's going to be 0.7. And then 36 is 0.35. So by 2040, so the next 15 years, is going to be 0.16. And at the minute, it's costing them around $300,000 to mine a block on average, roughly. Something like that. So that means 0. What did I just say? 0.16. 0.16 Bitcoin needs to be worth around $300,000 as long as the demand stays the same. So if demand keeps going up, like if hash rate keeps going up, arguably it's going to cost even more than $300,000. So what's that in quick maths? So basically by the year 2040, Bitcoin
2 million, something like that,
needs to be worth $3 million, or fees need to contribute way more. Otherwise, it's going to get to that stage where it's like, is it worth mining, sort of thing, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's a subject I've not delved into, but this is kind of like Jeff Booth level thinking, where it's like, oh well, how are we going to do this in 50 years? Wasn't there in Manchester a guy that was talking about solutions to this?
Was there?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the solution was. So that's good podcast. That's good podcast content, isn't it? But yeah.
I mean, I've really dug into, like FedWire before. So, our current money, we don't transact on the base layer.
Yeah, sure.
So it's only like the big banks and they move like millions or billions on the base layer. And there's like something like about a $50 fee for each transaction. And it's something like, I'm just going to be sprouting numbers out here, so definitely worth researching it if you want to know yourself. But it's something like 170 million transactions a year on FedWire, and Bitcoin does a similar amount, maybe about 140 million or something. So basically, Bitcoin does a similar amount as FedWire.
Yeah.
which is the transactions on the base layer. So at like $50 a fee or whatever, which is what Fedwire does at a minute, I don't know whether that then makes it more feasible. I probably need to do like a proper deep dive into that. But yeah, I have heard people saying that it's not really that much of an issue, but I need to figure out why. Sorry, where was I up to? Well, the first few years of Bitcoin's existence, the supply growth was very high, and the guarantee that the supply schedule. Oh no, I've done that bit, haven't I?
Yeah, basically on the graph now.
Oh, am I? Oh,
Well, we got
okay.
to asymptotically approaching 21 million coins somewhere around the year
Oh, yeah.
2140.
At which point there will be no more Bitcoins issued, because new coins are only produced with the issuance of a new block, and each new block requires the solving of the proof of work problems. There is a real cost to the production of new Bitcoins. As the price of Bitcoins rises in the market, more nodes enter to compete for the solution of the proof of work to obtain the block reward, which raises the difficulty of the proof of work problems, making it more costly to obtain the reward. Which is kind of what I was just saying there. It's like it now costs about 300,000 roughly to mine each block, whereas this time in 15 years is arguably going to be costing even more than that, unless energy becomes much more efficient and you know, depending on other variables. But so in theory, Bitcoin should be worth more than 3 million at that stage, unless fees are contributing heavily to it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, because the amount that the miners make from fees is barely anything compared to the current block reward.
It is, but there was a time where I believe fees outweighed the reward. I'm
Wasn't
not
that
sure
around
what year
the whole
that
block
was.
size where there was
Maybe
where
like 2017-ish.
it was a big backlog?
Yeah. So
But was that before the Lightning Network? I don't know.
yeah, possibly if that was around the block size, because Lightning was 2017, I think. So yeah, but the reason why Lightning's good though is it frees up the block space and it moves people to layer 2 solutions for like buying a coffee and general transactions.
Well, it's quicker for micropayments. Like
it's much quicker, much
can't
cheaper.
you can't buy a coffee and wait for 10 minutes for the.
But again, most people will want, like, it's not really Bitcoin until it's back on the base layer.
Yeah.
So at some stage, whenever enough is enough, you want to move that back. But if it's like $50 a fee, which is what it is with Fedwire now, then obviously it only makes sense to do that when you have, I don't know, it'll be different for every person, but probably like $1,000 worth or more. What would that be in percent? 1,000, 10% be 100.
5%.
It'd be 5%, yeah. So that's quite expensive. So really,
Yeah.
you only really want to do it with maybe, so 10,000 would be 0.5%.
Yeah, but on chain doesn't cost $50.
No, not at the minute. But that's what I'm saying is that
Oh, in the future.
I feel like it will need to get there. Like, as in, if, just say, for example, tomorrow, the whole world started using Bitcoin, like the way that we use fiat now, then that is, it's reasonable to think it would cost about the same amount as a Fedwire transaction, is my point.
Okay, yeah.
And so if it did cost that much, then it just means, in the current system, we mere mortals do not ever transfer on Fedwire because it would be insane to do so, and there's no point in it. But that's basically what transacting Bitcoin on the base layer is, and it just again shows like how early we are to be so easily and cheaply transacting on the base layer.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Like, it just won't be feasible if the whole world adopted Bitcoin. But that's the point of layer 2s. So most people probably will never even hold Bitcoin in self-custody, to be honest.
On-chain, yeah.
On-chain, and move it that way. The cost of producing a Bitcoin so the cost of producing a Bitcoin will thus greatly rise along with the market price, which is again what I was just working out there. Napkin math. It's not a price prediction by any means. After setting this supply growth schedule, Satoshi divided each Bitcoin into 100 million units, which were later named Satoshis in his pseudonymous honor. Dividing each Bitcoin into 8 digits means that the supply will continue to grow at a decreasing rate until around the year 2140, when the digits all fill up and we reach 21 million coins. The decreasing rate of growth, however, means that the first 20 million coins will be mined by around the year 2025. So again, this is kind of what I was talking about. Is it in 2030? I think there's only 1% left.
Right, probably, yeah.
What's 1% of 21 million? 2.1 million.
210,000.
210,000. So yeah, I think it's crazy soon. I think 2035, I think we've basically got 10 years left. I've heard people saying that we've basically got a 10-year window now, leaving 1 million coins to be mined over one more century. The number of new coins issued is not exact as predicted from the algorithm, because new blocks are not mined precisely every 10 minutes, because the difficulty adjustment is not a precise process, but a calibration that adjusts every 2 weeks and can overshoot or undershoot its target depending on how many new miners enter the mining business. In 2009, when very few people had used Bitcoin at all, the issuance was far below schedule, while in 2010 it was above the theoretical number predicted from the supply. The exact numbers will vary, but this variance from the theoretical growth will decrease as the supply grows. What will not vary is the maximum cap of coins and the fact that the supply growth rate will continue to decline as an ever decreasing number of coins is added onto an ever increasing stock of coins. Do you want to go through that chart? I don't think it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it?
Basically, got a chart on mine. Let's have a look.
Yeah, just there. Or the table, whatever it is.
Oh, these ones, yeah.
Yeah, table 6 and table 7. So we're now at 2025, so 0.83% annual growth, as the total Bitcoin supply is almost 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think, when is that going to go to 20 million? I think it is soon, isn't it? It's definitely in
2026 by the looks of it. Yeah, next year.
I think it might be now,
Look at table 7.
I feel like 2026, that is at the start of the year. I believe that's what it is at the start of the year.
Right.
So it's got to be like very soon. We can just pull this up quickly. Let me have a look. So Bitcoin has circulating supply 19,957,000.
Yeah.
So we're still not there yet. Okay.
Well,
anyway.
Table 7 says early 26 by the looks of it.
Yeah. So by the end of 2017, 16.7 million coins were already mined, constituting 79.9% of all coins that will ever exist. Don't you think that's crazy? That doesn't feel like that long ago. 2017, we've basically had 20% of Bitcoin mined in the last 8 years. And this is the thing that I don't think most people can get their head around, of like the supply shock. The annual supply growth in 2017 was 4.3%, coming down from 6.8% in 2016. Table 6 shows the actual supply growth of Bitcoin and its growth rate. A closer look at the Bitcoin supply schedule over the coming years would give us these estimates for the supply and growth rate. The actual numbers will surely vary from this, but not by much. See Table 7. Figure 15 extrapolates the growth rate of the main global reserve currencies, broad money supply and gold over the past 25 years into the next 25 years, and increases the supply of Bitcoins by the program's growth rates. By these calculations, the Bitcoin supply will increase by 27% in the coming 25 years, whereas the supply for gold will increase by 52%, the Japanese yen by 64%, the Swiss franc by 169%, the US dollar by 272%, the euro by 286%, and the British pound by 429%. So imagine holding pounds in that time. This exposition can help us appreciate the saleability of Bitcoin and how it fulfills the functions of money. With its supply growth rate dropping below that of gold by the year 2025, Bitcoin has the supply restrictions that could make it have considerable demand as a store of value. In other words, it can have saleability across time. Its digital nature that makes it easy to safely send worldwide makes it saleable in space in a way never seen with other forms of money, while its divisibility into 100 million satoshis makes it saleable in scale. Further, Bitcoin's elimination of intermediary control and the near impossibility of any authority debasing or confiscating it renders it free of the main drawbacks of government money. As the digital age has introduced improvements and efficiencies to most aspects of our life, Bitcoin presents a tremendous technological leap forward in the monetary solution to the indirect exchange problem, perhaps as significant as the move from cattle and salt to gold and silver. Whereas traditional currencies are continuously increasing in supply and decreasing in purchasing power, Bitcoin has so far witnessed a large increase in real purchasing power despite a moderate but decreasing and capped increase in its supply. Because miners who verify transactions are rewarded with Bitcoins, these miners have a strong vested interest in maintaining the integrity of the network, which in turn causes the value of the currency to rise. The Bitcoin network began operating in January 2009 and was for a while an obscure project used by a few people in cryptography mailing list. Perhaps the most important milestone in Bitcoin's life was the first day that the tokens in this network went from being economically worthless to having a market value, validating that Bitcoin had passed the market test. The network had operated successfully enough for someone to be willing to part with actual money to own some of its tokens. This happened in October 2009 when an online exchange named New Liberty Standard sold Bitcoins at a price of $0.000994. In May 2010, the first real-world purchase with Bitcoin took place, as someone paid 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizza pies worth $25, putting the price of a Bitcoin at 0.25 cents.
So a quarter of a cent.
A quarter of a cent was a Bitcoin. And now that same pizza, which I just worked out the other day, is $1 billion.
Yeah.
So he paid $1 billion for that pizza in today's value of pizza. And a lot of people hear that and think, what a crazy idiot. Like, why did he do that? Like, I feel so sorry for him. But they're completely missing the point. Like, do you think he just stopped accumulating Bitcoin? Do you think that guy? Who do you think has more Bitcoin, him or you? Like,
yeah. I mean, he was a Bitcoin developer. This guy, I was reading about him the other day. He was a dev. Yeah, he was in the space. So, and it was also the first. This was the first, as it says here, the first real world link between this magic internet money that didn't even have a real world value, and the real world and something physical. So this is like a pinnacle, thing for it was the starting point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's what my video for next week is basically all about, spending Bitcoin. And if everyone just gets over themselves, gets over the tax issue, gets over all of that, it will literally force the free market into existence, like instantly. But everyone's so much like, everyone's still stuck in the fiat world, still stuck in the current system and trapped in this current system. That is just like, oh no, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin because, Gresham's law, sell the thing that's dying and keep the thing that's strong. But you have to be Laszlo. We all have to be Laszlo. We all have to be that person who makes the worst investment choice ever, to actually grow the circular economy and grow the economy, encourage people, demand people to accept Bitcoin. We have to be though. If we're not those people, then who is going to be those people? You know what I mean? And so it's something that I'm just like feel quite strongly about at the minute. And it doesn't even have to be like, say you are in the UK, you get £3,000 capital gains allowance each year, unless you have like loads of other assets which you're selling and taking gains on. Then, I mean, you've probably got to realistically spend £6,000 in a year to, I suppose, if you bought way cheaper and your average cost is $10,000 a Bitcoin or whatever, then sure, if you spend £3,000 now, then what, 90% of that is going to be profit. And so, yeah, but like, as in, you could still spend £3,000 in Bitcoin over this next year and not pay any tax. So for a lot of people, if you've only just bought Bitcoin, then you could pay, you could spend as much as you want. Because especially if you've bought higher than where it is now, like you can spend as much as you want, sort of thing, using Bitcoin, and that is what's going to grow the circular economy. So there would be no tax involved. Basically, if you're paying tax, then you've made money on the system anyway. So
yeah, isn't there a spend and replace rule? Is that a thing in the UK?
I don't know all the nitty gritty tax rules, to be honest, but I know something like if you say, what's the rule? It's something to do with a month. So if I say you've got a really low cost basis thing. So say, for example, my property, which I've just sold, I've actually made a loss on this. So let's call it a loss of £10,000, and it's actually worse than that. But let's call it £10,000 for my own sanity. That means I could, let's say I bought Bitcoin at $10,000 and now it's $100,000. I could then effectively, and I've got £10,000 worth of Bitcoin. I could sell all my Bitcoin now, wait a month and one day, then buy back the exact same amount of Bitcoin that I had. Obviously, depending on what happens with the price, depends on how. And so this is why it's quite a risky thing to do, because the price could run away or it could drop a lot and then you get more Bitcoin. So it could be lucky, it could not, whatever. But the point is you could do that, and then my average cost basis now comes back to whatever the thing is. And then I can offset my loss of my property to my Bitcoin, because what I've just sold on my Bitcoin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Does any of that make sense? Like, it's quite complex, but I was trying to figure this out the other day.
Yeah, that's like an advanced. I'm not good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but the point is, it would then my cost basis would be way higher than where I originally bought it, sort of thing. And those are just all hypothetical numbers, sort of thing. But like, there are ways that people can do this if you're really worried about the tax implications of spending Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, the dream situation is just earning Bitcoin, spending Bitcoin, and then that's it. And I mean, obviously, if you just do it in a non-KYC way, then
because there is a difference between spending and selling, isn't there? This is
exactly.
Some people
spend and replace.
Say, I would never sell it, but I'm happy to spend it. Which is basically using it as money rather than selling it for profit, for fiat or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, when you really think about what most people need on a monthly basis is basically food. So if you can find somewhere where you can buy food, then you're effectively living in a Bitcoin and some way that you can be paid in Bitcoin, then you're effectively living in a circular economy wherever you are in the world, sort of thing.
Yeah. That would be very nice.
If only you could orange pill some farmers.
I know. Watch this space.
Where are we up to? Do
you know with time, more and more people heard of Bitcoin.
With time, more and more people heard of Bitcoin and became interested in purchasing it, and the price continued to rise further. The market demand for a Bitcoin token comes from the fact that it is needed to operate the first, and so far arguably only, functional and reliable digital cash system. The fact that this network was successfully operational in its early days gave its digital token a collectible value among tiny communities of cryptographers and libertarians who tried mining it with their own PCs and eventually even started purchasing it from one another. That the tokens were strictly limited and could not be replicated helped create this initial collectible status. After being acquired by individuals to use on the Bitcoin network and gaining economic value, Bitcoin began to get monetized through more people demanding it as a store of value. This sequence of activities conforms to Ludwig von Mises' theory of regression on the origins of money, which states that a monetary good begins as a market good and is then used as a medium of exchange. Bitcoin's collectible status among small communities is no different from seashells, rhinestones, and precious metals' ornamental value, from which they were to acquire a monetary role that raised their value significantly. Being new and only beginning to spread, Bitcoin's price has fluctuated wildly as demand fluctuates, but the impossibility of increasing supply arbitrarily by an authority in response to price spikes explains the meteoric rise in the purchasing power of the currency. When there is a spike in demand for Bitcoin miners cannot increase production beyond the set schedule like copper miners can, and no central bank can step in to flood the market with increasing quantities of Bitcoins. As Greenspan suggested, central banks do with their gold. The only way for the market to meet the growing demand is for the price to rise enough to incentivize the holders to sell some of their coins to the newcomers. This explains, just stopping there, this is why a lot of people call it a Ponzi scheme as well, is that they sort of argue the only value Bitcoin has is people originally holding it and selling it to newcomers and selling it for more, selling more of this magical digital fairy dust or whatever they call it. But they're just completely missing the point. Like, as in, a Ponzi scheme is only when there is basically you're using new people's money,
New money from outside coming in.
new money to fund the people that already exist, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think this is where they're sort of getting that idea from. It's like it's the new people coming in that's giving the money to the people that exist already. But in a Ponzi scheme, it literally just increases the supply. And often there's not even anything there. There's not even anything tangible there at all. Whereas anyone can verify who owns what Bitcoin on the blockchain. Like, so there is something actually there that someone owns. It's also backed by energy with the miners and the hash rate and everything. So basically that's the massive misconception that you see all the time, is that, you know, even people reading that, if they're new to Bitcoin, they'll be like, oh, well, that sounds exactly like a Ponzi scheme. But you're missing the point. There is something actually that you're owning from it, whereas in a Ponzi scheme is not.
It says here that the only way for the market to meet the growing demand is for the price to rise enough to incentivize the holders to sell some of their coins to the newcomers. So that it's not new coins coming in; the coins are changing hands.
Yeah.
So there's not new Bitcoin coming in. There's not new Bitcoins being printed.
Yeah.
It's existing Bitcoin that you can verify is legit, that's changing hands to newcomers. You know, it's going from paper hands to diamond hands, as they say.
And also on that point is that
Like,
you
that
can
doesn't
now actually spend your Bitcoin. So you can actually purchase something real with your Bitcoin. So you're not necessarily always going to have to sell it to a newcomer to be able to move the Bitcoin. Whereas I think in the early days, that literally was really the only use case for it. Which again, just shows how, what is it called? The Lindy effect, where it just gets stronger and stronger each day it exists. This helps explain why in 8 years of existence, the price of a Bitcoin has gone from $0.000994 on October 5th, 2009, in its first recorded transaction, to $4,200 on October 5th, 2017, an increase of 422 million. I'm just going to leave it at that, in 8 years, and a compound annual growth rate of 573% per year. See figure 16. Yeah, I mean, so he's obviously writing this
This is almost 10 years old. This
October
book. Yeah.
2017. So within the next 2 months, little did he know, it goes up to $20,000. So it's crazy. But then the next year it went back to 3,000. The Bitcoin price to rise, for the Bitcoin price to rise, people must hold it as a store of value and not just spend it. Without a number of people willing to hold the currency for a significant period of time, continued selling of the currency will keep its price down and prevent it from appreciating. By November 2017, the total market value of all the Bitcoins in circulation was in the range of $110 billion, giving it a value larger than the broad money supply of the national currencies of most countries. Just on that point as well, you can see why so many long-term holders have sold recently. You know, there was all this, did you see this stuff recently, you know, of the price going from 120 odd down to 80 and people showing graphs of all the long-term holders are selling. So imagine holding this for, you know, since those early days. So imagine holding this for the last 10 years where you've literally seen it.
This was only 8 years ago.
Yeah, but imagine holding it from before that. Like, imagine holding it from like 2013, before the first ever really. So end of 2013 was the first time Bitcoin really did anything. Like, there was obviously, you can see that little blip there. Actually, you can see like early 2013. So it had that thing, and then it came back down, and then it went crazy by the end of 2013, which was the first. You know, so it went to over $1,000. So imagine just buying it at $1,000 and put in like 100 grand into it or something, like because you have conviction in this thing. Then imagine that then going to like 20,000, seeing it come all the way back down, and just think about what your emotions would be doing, no matter how much conviction you have in this thing. But you're still like, no, I'm still holding this. And then it goes back up to 69 grand and then goes back to 15,000. You know, your net worth has gone from like, what did I say? $1,000, 100,000. So say you've had 100 Bitcoin. You've gone up to at 20,000. What's that times 10? 200. So you've gone up to 2 million.
2 million, yeah.
2 million, back down to 300,000, back up to 6.9 million, back down to 1.5 million. And now you've gone up to 10 million. And people are like judging them as like, oh, they don't understand Bitcoin or whatever. It's like, no, like they've got 100 of it. They can easily sell one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like for 100,000 or whatever, and they've just taken their own money back out, or maybe they sell 10 and like they go and buy a house with it or something. Like,
exactly.
It's incredible that anyone was able to have that conviction from back then, because it was so uncertain around that time. So
I mean, it is money at the end of the day. It is for spending. So if you've done that and you've got enough to buy a house with it.
Yeah. And you can keep 9 million.
Exactly. Like maybe, you know, there might be some places in the world where you can literally buy it direct with Bitcoin. Maybe. I think I heard that somewhere in Madeira accepts, like an estate agent accepts Bitcoin direct.
Yeah.
But if not, sell it and buy a house. Well, good for you. It's money at the end of the day.
Exactly.
That's the reason. The reason why people are getting into it is because they don't like their wealth to be debased.
Yeah, it's like Dixon.
You know,
he says his worst ever spend was spending 1,000 Bitcoin on a house, but he weighed up the situation and he knew that house was giving him security, peace of mind, you know, more freedom.
It's what money's for, exactly.
By outright owning it and like having it. And he hasn't stopped accumulating since. It's not like he just spent that and then that's it, sort of thing. So he accumulates more each month, and that is the point. But that is the point in like a. And
you've bought
money system as well.
You bought a house. You bought a house with actual money rather than debt.
Exactly.
which is a big difference.
And again, it's what a lot of people, a lot of fans of Keynesian economics will be like, yeah, but if the money growth is not going up each year, then there's less incentive to spend, So it's like, but I'm not going. So people will just hoard their money and stuff. It's like that's kind of what you do. But then when you get to a point where it can buy you enough of whatever the thing is that you want, then you do
Yeah.
spend it.
Yeah,
And
it's like, I
people
need a
still need to
car.
eat
Yeah,
every month.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people
exactly.
still need
Yeah.
a car, or they still want to have a TV, or still want to go on holiday. Like people still want to do things. So that is not the case, but it does incentivize, as your recent video showed, like how you've changed in the last year. It incentivizes good habits. It incentivizes a lower time preference, incentivizes saving more money, earning more money, like
Yeah,
being better with money, which is not a bad thing.
exactly. Yeah,
Like the world needs that right now. Less
exactly.
consumerism. Yes, I stopped somewhere stupid again, didn't I? Where was I? In that case,
If Bitcoin were a country, the value of its currency would be the 56th largest.
oh, where am I? I'm completely no idea where that is.
So you see the figure 16 graph.
Figure 60. Oh, where am I? I'm on a completely different page. What have I done? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, you got it?
So for the Bitcoin price to rise, people must hold it as a store of value. Are we there?
Yeah.
Without a number of people willing to hold the currency for a significant period of time, continued selling on the currency will keep its price down and prevent it from appreciating. By November 2017, the total market value of all the Bitcoins in circulation was in the range of $110 billion, giving it a value larger than the broad money supply of the national currencies of most countries. If Bitcoin were a country, the value of its currency would be the 56th largest national currency worldwide, roughly in the range of the size of the money supply of Kuwait or Bangladesh, larger than that of Morocco and Peru, but smaller than Colombia and Pakistan. If it were to be compared to the narrow money supply, Bitcoin's supply value would be ranked around the 33rd in the world, with the value similar to the narrow money supply of Brazil, Turkey, and South Africa. Just an update on this. I believe it's now the fifth largest currency, or maybe sixth largest
Really?
currency. Yeah. So it's gone from 33rd or 56th, whatever it is, to fifth or sixth.
Soon to be first.
And then absolute dominate. Just be way out. It is perhaps one of the most remarkable achievements of the internet that an online economy that spontaneously and voluntarily emerged around a network designed by an anonymous programmer has grown in 9 years to hold more value than is held in the money supply of most nation states and national currencies. And now all of them apart from 5 or 6. This conservative monetary policy and the pursuant appreciation in the market value of Bitcoins is vital to the successful operation of Bitcoin, and as it is the reason that miners have an incentive to expend electricity and processing power on honestly verifying transactions. Had Bitcoin been created with an easy money policy, such as what a Keynesian or monetarist economist would recommend, it would have had its money supply grow in proportion to the number of users or transactions. But in that case, it would have remained a marginal experiment among cryptography enthusiasts online. No serious amount of processing power would have gone to mining it, as there would be no point in investing heavily in verifying transactions and solving proof of work in order to get tokens that will get devalued as more people use the system. The expansionary monetary policies of modern fiat economies and economists have never won the market test of adoption freely, but have instead been imposed through government laws, as discussed earlier. As a voluntary system with no mechanism for forcing people to use it, Bitcoin would fail to attract significant demand, and as a result, its status as a successful digital cash would not be guaranteed. While the transactions could be carried out without need for trust in a third party, the network would be vulnerable to attack by any malicious actor mobilizing large amounts of processing power In other words, without a conservative monetary policy and difficulty adjustment, Bitcoin would only have succeeded theoretically as digital cash, but remained too insecure to be used widely in practice. In that case, the first competitor to Bitcoin that introduced a hard money policy would make the updating of the ledger and production of new units progressively more expensive. The high cost of updating the ledger would give miners an incentive to be honest with their updating of the ledger, making the network more secure than easy money contenders. The growth in the price is a reflection of the growing use and utility that the network offers its users. The number of transactions on the network has also grown rapidly, whereas 32,687 transactions were carried out in 2009 at a rate of 90 transactions per day. The number grew to more than 103 million transactions in 2017 at a daily rate of 284,797 transactions. The cumulative number of transactions is approaching 300 million transactions in January 2018. Table 8 and Figure 17 show the annual growth. While the growth in transactions is impressive, it does not match the growth in value of the total stock of Bitcoin currency, as can be evidenced by the fact that the number of transactions is far less than what would be transacted in an economy whose currency had the value of the Bitcoin supply. 300,000 daily transactions is the number of transactions that takes place in a small town, not in a medium-sized economy, which is around the value of the supply of Bitcoin. Yeah, that's quite incredible, actually, isn't it? You think of that. Let me show you. I've got an updated chart of the transactions, although it doesn't seem to be the same numbers, but let's see. Can you see that?
Yep.
So where was he up to? 2017.
Yep.
So they reckon 100 million. I don't know what this is priced in, but this is like 270.
This is the amount of transactions, is it?
It's the Bitcoin transactions excluding popular addresses. So I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But anyway, you can see since then it did kind of plateau a bit. And as we were speaking about, I wonder if this is something to do with Lightning.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean, it still has pretty much doubled since back then. And you saw the trajectory of it up until 2017. It's crazy. So, but I think what's more interesting, in my opinion, because things like Lightning has changed.
Yeah, I was just about to say hash rate. Yeah.
Hash rate, I mean, just look at that. It's just gone crazy. So in 2017, which is when that book is, that's like, what, here? 2017. Yeah. So it's gone from 10 million to, what's that, a billion, like 1,000 million, basically, in just the last few years. Also, the total number of UTXOs, I think, is a good way of looking at things now. Because again, there's no point looking at wallets because, again, Lightning has changed that a little bit, and ETFs, arguably, as well, exchanges and things. Whereas look at the number of total UTXOs in the network, it just keeps going crazy.
Yeah, these are metrics that people don't talk about. People usually just focus on the price, but the hash rate,
those are the two for me: hash rate and UTXOs. If ever those start going down, like year after year, that is the only time I'm like, until they start going down, I have no interest in any of your shitcoins. I have no interest in Bitcoin is failed or is not working. Like those are the two numbers that I care about. I don't care what the price is. I literally care about those two things more than anything else.
Have you got the hash rate for Bitcoin Cash? Because I know that's basically almost died out now, or at least like plateaued.
I don't know if they will have this.
Yeah, BCH, that's it. Yeah.
There you go, network hash rate. It does have it.
Interesting. So it's higher than ever, but it's still not that much. It's four.
Yeah,
It's
but it's
4
4
million.
million. It was
So it's
1,000 million compared to
yeah,
Bitcoin.
like
So you
Bitcoin
need
was
to put
four
them over the
million
top of each other.
in what 2011
Well,
something.
2017, I said it was 10 million, I think.
Yeah.
You know? Is this right? Because this has got data from 2014. Didn't Bitcoin Cash only come out in 2017?
I don't know.
It was the block size wars, wasn't it?
Mm.
So I don't know. But I mean, that sounds like about the right sort of numbers.
Yeah.
Let's do it on the monthly chart as well, because that probably show you more of the fluctuations. So you can see that, yeah, look, like back there in 2017, it's actually at one stage was higher than where it is now.
Yeah. And 6 million 2017. What was Bitcoin in 2017? Did you say
10
10?
million.
So you can see why people at the time were thinking, "Oh, we're not sure which one's going to win." If there was a relatively similar hash rate.
Yeah, I think it only came out in 2017. So yeah, obviously people were at that stage, were on Bitcoin Cash team. But I mean, look how quick it died though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then came back and just been
Yeah.
messing around really. So yeah.
Right, I'm gonna have to call it a day because I've got to nip off to work, unfortunately, and some stinky fiat.
Stinky fiat. Everyone loves a bit of stinky fiat.
There we go. Right then, let's call it a day. We'll reconvene soon.
Yeah. All right.
Nice
See
one,
you
mate.
later. Bye.
See you in a bit. Bye.